What's up? Good morning, kiddos. I'm ready. I'm ready to teach you kids up. Things are gonna get a little crazier here for sure. With the math, I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. Maybe you've seen before, maybe you haven't. But I mean, the key words today are absolute value, right here. Boom. And I think a lot of you kids are kind of familiar with what absolute value is. And really, what absolute value is the distance from zero on a number line. So if we have a number line, and that's just, you know what? Why don't I just use this number line we already have right here for the name? If we have a number line right here, this guy's 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. And I said, hey, how far, right? If I said, well, typically, how far, if I said something like this, the absolute value of 3. That's what these vertical little brackets mean. What this is saying is, in essence, how far is 3 from 0 on a number line? So you'd say, oh, okay, 1, 2, 3, right? The absolute value of 3 is 3, okay? It's 3 spaces away from 0 on a number line. Well, they could ask you something different and say, hey, what's the absolute value of -2? And you'd say, okay, -2. How far is that from 0 on a number line? 1, 2. Okay, so the absolute value of -2 is 2. Okay, but we're not going to draw a number line for every absolute value equation because it's going to get crazy and there's got to be an easier way. Well, the best thing that you got to understand is like you're never going to have a negative number as your answer because there's no such thing as a negative distance. Okay? And what we really want to do here, let me show you. What we really want to do, okay, is we always want to get the absolute value by itself equals something, right? Remember in the past how if you had 2x plus 3y,
right into it. Let's get after it.
What is my
We
computer?
need to do a bunch of those kind of notes that were in the beginning.
Computer is tripping. If you can hear it kind of doing its thing, hopefully it'll stop tripping. Might be. Okay, so in the past, remember what we wanted to do is we wanted to get the variable by itself, right? So if this didn't say y, if this was just a 3, we'd shoot that guy over there and that's what would happen. We always wanted to get the variable by itself, the x or the y or the z by itself. Well, here what we're doing is we want the absolute value by itself. And that's what we're always going to ask ourselves. We're going to come down to the fact and we're going to say, hey, is the absolute value by itself? We're always going to ask that. Is the absolute value by itself? Now, I want you to know that for absolute value questions, we're always going to have two answers. Okay, we're always going to have two answers because really there's going to be two different options. Because if I asked you what's the distance, like if we're looking on a number line here, I think I got a little chat going on. And if you're looking on your number line, here's my pen. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is -1, this is -2. There's always going to be two options. If I said, hey, how many numbers are 2 spaces away from 0? You've always got two options. You've got this guy over here and you've got this guy over here. So what you need to get through your head now is that for absolute value equations, you're always going to have two answers. Okay? You're almost always going to have two answers. So keep that in your mind. Okay? Now, what we're going to do down here is we're going to start doing some math. We'll try and keep it pretty simple today. And you want to ask yourself always, is the absolute value by itself? Right? Is there anything, and when I say that, here's our equal sign, right? There's our absolute value of 3x. And here's our 9 on the right-hand side. I'm saying, is the absolute value by itself? The answer to this question is yes, because we don't have anything else over on the left side of the equal sign over here. So if there was like a +5, then this absolute value right here would not be by himself. We'd have something else over there. Or if there was a number out in front, like 5 over here, right? This absolute value would not be by himself because we have other junk. And we always come back to that and we ask ourselves, is the absolute value by himself, right? Is the absolute value by itself? And here we say yes. If the absolute value is by itself, what we do, our next step is we split it up. We write whatever's inside of this absolute value equals 9. And then for the second guy, we say 3x equals, and we make this guy negative 9. Okay, because remember on my example up here, we're always going to have one number that's over on the right, and we're always going to have one number that's over on the left as an option. So here, it's like a 9 is over here and negative 9 is over here. That's our option. So watch what we're going to do here. We're going to divide by 3, and we get x equals 3. And we're going to divide by 3 here, and we get x equals negative 3. Okay? And on your homework, I'm going to make it multiple choice, so you don't need to worry about how you have to input those choices. Okay? Let's slide down here. Okay, and let's ask ourselves, is the absolute value by itself? Yes, there's nothing on the right of it, there's nothing on the left of it. Anything inside is just inside. You got to think of like a package. Is that package by itself? There's going to be contents in the package, right? This package has a lot of contents in it, but is it by itself? Yeah. Okay, so if that's the key, we split it up. We'll say b over 5 equals 1. And then we'll say b over 5 equals what? Negative 1. Okay, right? We say this equals this equals negative this. Okay, then you say what's being done to our variable? It's being divided by 5, so we're going to multiply by 5 on both sides. And b equals 1 times 5 is 5. And same thing here, b is being divided by 5, so we multiply by 5 on both sides. And b equals negative 5. Okay, and right now you're noticing that the numbers are the same. Same, negative, same. 5, negative 5. Okay, it's not always going to be like that. So it's trending in that direction right now because we're doing easy problems, but it's not always going to be like that. Okay, so what I want to do is let's come down to one that's a little trickier down here, like number 7. Right, and we've got our absolute value. It's a package. It's got stuff in it. But what you got to notice is this package is by itself. There's nothing in front of it. There's nothing behind it. Okay, it's pretty simple. So what we're going to do here is we're going to split him up because he's by himself. Okay, now let's say negative 2r minus 1 equals 11. And the second guy I'll do in a different color. We're going to say negative 2r minus 1 equals what? We make this negative. So negative 11. Now we've got some math to do, right? We've got to slide this guy over by adding 1 and adding 1. Okay, and it looks like I have negative 2r equals 12. Okay, divide negative 2. And r equals, is it negative 6? Okay, perfect. My little pad here is getting a little dirty. So now over here, let's do the same thing. Plus 1, negative 2r equals, what's this going to be? Looks like it's going to be negative 10 to me. Okay, divide negative 2. Divide negative 2. And what do we get? I think we get r equals, is it 5? See, now look what happened. They're not the same. We don't have that like we did up here. 5, negative 5. 3, negative 3. Okay, our answer is negative 6 and positive 5. Okay, so let's see what you can do here. Now, I'm going to have you try number 9 on your own. And just to give you a hint, 9 is exactly like 7. So go through the same process that you did for number 7, but do that for number 9. Okay? So press pause. Go ahead and attack that. When you're done, press play. And then we can go through it together. All right, so the first thing you ask yourself is the absolute value by himself? And then you say, yes, he is. Okay, so we're going to split them up. Negative 2n plus 6 equals 6. And this other guy over here is going to say negative 2n plus 6 equals, and then we make this guy negative 6, right? Okay, so let's get rid of this positive 6 by subtracting 6. And it looks like we have negative 2n equals 0. Divide negative 2, and n equals 0. Okay, over here, same thing. Subtract 6. It looks like I have negative 2n equals, it's not 0 because it's different this time, it's negative 12. Divide negative 2. Okay, and n equals, what is it? What's negative 12 divided by negative 2? I think it's positive 6. Okay, what do you think? Pretty simple? Pretty easy for the most part, but we got to practice. We've got to practice. Okay, so now's when it's important. Like, a lot of the kids are not spending the amount of time that they should on the videos. Okay, they're not doing these practice problems. They're messaging me in the Zoom call like, hey, I'm done. And I'm like, you didn't do what you were supposed to. Okay, because I can look on there and see what kind of time you're spending on these videos. And hey, just do what you're supposed to. Like, do what you're asked to do. So now we're going to take some time. We're going to go through 6. We're going to go through 8. We're going to go through 10. Just practicing, because you need the practice. You need the reps. And then we can come back and the lesson will be done. Okay, so press pause, attack 6. When you're done, press play. We'll go through it. And we'll do the same thing for 8 and 10. Okay, let's look here. Let's split this guy up. Negative 4 plus 5x equals 16. And then we have negative 4 plus 5x equals negative 16. Okay, I got to get this negative 4 over here. So I'm going to add 4. And if you wanted to, you could do it to both sides like this. You see how I'm doing it on both equations? So you could say gone, gone, and then you could say, okay, 5x equals 20. And then over here we get something different. 5x equals, wow, is this guy going to be a fraction? He might. Negative 16 plus 4. I didn't know there was going to be fractions on here. Let me check and see if there's fractions down here. Oh, there is. Okay, so I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. Yeah, we need to start getting familiar with fractions anyway. Okay, so what is this? Negative 12? All right. We should be familiar with fractions if we want to be good at math. So we have x equals 20 divided by 5 is 4. And here, let me show you how easy this is. Don't freak out. X equals, and just write it negative 12 over 5. That's fine for me. I don't mind that one bit. Okay, so let's expect now. Let's expect that we're going to get some fractions here on 8 and 10. Okay, expect it. And if you can reduce it, reduce it. If you can't, don't. Okay, so attack 8. When you're done with 8, press play, and we'll go over it. Okay, let's go ahead and attack this. So we got 1 minus 5a equals 29. And then we've got 1 minus 5a equals negative 29. Okay, and let's kind of go through this. What do we need to get rid of? Well, let's get rid of this 1. Let's subtract 1 on both sides. Let's do it over here too. Subtract 1 on both sides, and let's see what happens. Okay, that's gone. That's gone. And it looks like we have negative 5a equals 28. Over here we have negative 5a equals negative 30. Okay, divide by negative 5, negative 5, negative 5. And let's see what happens. You're gone. You're gone. And here it looks weird, but that's okay. A equals, you know, what's a positive divided by a negative? It's a negative. So I'm just going to write negative 28 over 5. That's totally fine. And over here we get something a little more clean, right? A equals, I think, 6. All right. Last one. Okay, last one. No big deal. We got this. This one, I don't know if we're ready for this one yet. So that's going to be our next lesson. It's not now. It's our next lesson. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to give you a couple practice problems to do underneath for your homework. And then our next lesson is going to be absolute value equations like this. But look, they're a little crazier down here. It's going to get a little more, wild. Okay, but that's all good. I'm going to teach you up. You kids will be ready. So go ahead and complete the homework assignment right now. And then we'll have our next lesson you can jump into and do those. All right, kiddos. Later.